right, so we actually have 4 minutes before we begin. All right, so here's what I need from you right now. First of all, welcome. We're going to start in just a couple of minutes. Before we begin, if you could let me know this is going to be astronomy tonight, stargazing. And for those of you who have telescopes, you are in luck. We have some hard to find things. We also have a number of really fun objects and really cool information to share with you about astronomy. We're going to be going for about 45 minutes tonight. We do have live telescope views. Brian is currently working very hard to get his camera lined so you can actually peek through his telescope tonight. So that's going to be super fun. Before we actually get started, could you let me know where on the planet you are from? You can type it in. If you're on YouTube, you can type it in. If you are on Zoom, which I don't think I've actually let anybody in on Zoom, so this is going to be fun. You can also let me know as well. And okay, so it looks like we've got more people joining, lots of people joining. There we go. We are broadcasting on multiple platforms tonight. So it's our first time trying this many platforms, so we're gonna give it a go. So yay! All right, so let us know where in the world you are. While you're doing that, go ahead and take a couple. You're gonna need a pencil and piece of paper. If you have the star charts for tonight, that's fantastic. If you don't, that's okay. You can rewatch this as a recording and make some notes in your star charts when you have them. For those of you who are interested in knowing where the star charts are, let me grab those for you and share my screen with you. So we are over here. We're over here, and I actually have, this is a gentleman that's been doing this, I want to say 15 or 20 years now. He makes sky maps for free every month, and it's at skymaps.com, C-O-M. And what you do is you scroll down, you see where it says Evening Sky Map, and it says download the latest issue. And so you click on that, and then you'll scroll down here, and you just pick the hemisphere that you're in. If you're north of the equator, it would be the northern hemisphere, okay, and vice versa for the southern. And you'll click to download, and you'll see that it is a 2-page document. So you can print this out, and I'm going to show you where you can, where the things are. Here, I'll keep this up. I'm going to be pointing out several different objects, and then, so I'll point something out, we'll talk about it. Brian will show you a live view of it, what it looks through the telescope. So you don't need a telescope, you can borrow ours. And then after tonight, if it's over and you'd like to go and check those objects out on your own, you totally can. So if you have this printed out, that's great. Again, it's at skymaps.com, super easy to find. Just pick the correct hemisphere. We're going to be focusing on the northern hemisphere, but that's why I asked where you live. If you're in the southern hemisphere, we'll mention a few things that you can look at tonight as well. Okay, so I actually have mine out and on my desk here. You can, here, see my hand. And so as we go through a few of these, I'm going to be using my highlighter and highlighting them so you can see. And so if you want to take notes on yours with me, you can. That's great. If not, you'll just use a pencil and a piece of paper, and you can just write down the numbers as we go along. And we'll make sure that you have everything you need. All right, so how are we doing so far? Good? Looks like we're getting a lot of people here. Yay! Hello to Phil. Okay, here, let's see our hellos before we get started. So hello to South Florida, and we've got Cynthia from Colorado and Philadelphia, Idaho, Minnesota. We got people from all over the place. We have Houston, Texas. Dave Majors. Hi, Dave. How are you? And, oh, I forgot to mention. Oh, no. Look, it's like the top of the hour, and we haven't even started. I'm already forgetting things. Okay, so guess what tomorrow is? That's right. We are stargazing live in person. So if you are anywhere near the Central Coast, or you feel like taking a day trip to visit us, we're going to be doing our live stargazing tomorrow night. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be bringing my telescopes, not this little thing, but I'm bringing my big telescopes, and we are going to meet out there at the Santa Margarita Lake. It is open to the public. It is free. And so we get out there. If you arrive before sunset, you'll be able to see us set up the telescopes. We're thinking next month, we are also going to have some solar scopes in October. So we're getting back in person. We're doing a lot of fun stuff. You're totally welcome. We do these online ones just in case you're not local. So we're going to highlight some things tonight. The things we look at tomorrow, totally different. So it's up to you. We'd love to have you visit us. Okay, and so if you want more information about that, the website for the club is Central Coast Astronomy. Let me put it up here. Central Coast Astronomy. Just type in Central Coast Astronomy Society or Astronomical Society. You'll find us. So it's centralcoastastronomy.org, and you'll find us. You'll find all our information. You'll get pictures of members and stargazing and so forth. And so that's on here as well. All right, so this is where we are right now. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. Brian is actually not going to be on camera. It is his telescope. Do you want to see what his telescope looks like before we begin? Absolutely. Here, let me show you what you're in for tonight. So, all right, you ready to start? It's like the top of the hour, isn't it? Yay! Okay, let's go ahead and start. Hi, this is Aurora with Central Coast Astronomical Society. I am so excited you are joining me tonight. If during our presentation you have any questions, you are going to type it into the box. We have several astronomers that are on with us, including Dave Majors and more, that are going to be, oh, I hear Brian. I hear Brian in the wind noise from Brian. I thought somebody was dragging something outside my door. Hang on. Let me cut down on Brian's wind noise just a second. Let me grab him. Let's see. And let's see. Where am I? I am here. Brian already muted himself. Look at that. Oh, and here we go. Let me just set up a couple more controls here just for a second. So Brian is live. So I'll stay muted. Yes, except for when you talk. Sounds great, Brian. No problem. Brian, I know you're here. No problem. And we are looking for our, let's see. I'm going to show you what Brian's setup looks like. Give me just a second. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, and it looks like the folks on Zoom are having trouble with all of this. Hang on a second. Let me get you so we are, is that better? Oh, no, that's not better. That's terrible. Hang on a second. Let me fix the Zoom here. Let me see. Just a second. Yeah, I know. How's that? Better? Zoomers, you can see me now? Awesome. All right, good. Okay. And let's just make sure we have everything here. And let's see, what else am I going to add here? Okay. All right, so when Brian comes on, I will switch over to him. Here we go. You guys ready? Yay! All right, rev up your engines because here we go. All right, so Brian's setup tonight looks like this. It is, let's go back to I was sharing some slides, wasn't I? Okay, so here we go. We have our online stargazing. And so this is Brian. He's one of our amateur astronomers. These are images that he took from a backyard telescope. This is what the telescope looks like. In fact, now that I've shown this, I think he's got a bigger telescope tonight. So just imagine this, but bigger. Brian, you got to get me a picture of that so I can share it. You see the red thing at the end? That is the camera. And so he has a camera attached with lots of wires, and he also has tracking on it. So the computer is telling the telescope where to point, as well as I'm going to be able to show you the views as if you were looking through it. So the computer's looking through it right now, and then it's piping it to the screen when he is ready. He's going to let us know. Okay, and let me see here. Let's go ahead and introduce a couple of the other astronomers we have. Not on tonight, but sometimes we also have Kent Wallace. He has, this is an 8-inch telescope of his. He also has a much larger telescope. This is a 20-inch star splitter that he uses. He's gone around the world and stargazed up everywhere. So Kent is our expert. You can literally ask him anything. They use Kent to correct computer programs and textbooks because he is that accurate. So he's one of our members as well. Nikolai is another astronomer of ours. That is his setup, and he is big into astrophotography. And so you'll be seeing him throughout the year. He's going to join us. Paul Wilson provides us with astrophotography images. You see M27 there, the Dumbbell Nebula. That's one of them that we're going to see tonight. Peter Bressler has also a telescope. Check this out. You see the shed in the back? The shed is on wheels, and it goes over the telescope when he's not using it, and he slides it back when he is ready. Isn't that a cool hobby? So Peter is new into astrophotography, but he is very excited. And Dave, hey Dave, guess what? You have another telescope. You don't have that one anymore, do you? So Dave Majors is another astronomer, and he helps us out with our stargazing. He is great. If you ask questions, he will be in there in the chat answering them as well, as Dr. Lee Coombs is in there. Sometimes he joins us as well. He's a retired chemistry professor from Cal Poly State. So we have a lot of fun astronomers. Wouldn't you agree? A lot of fun people to learn from. Okay, so we're going to go back to Brian, and Brian has our first object. So I think what we're going to do, Brian, if it's okay with you, I'm going to have you introduce your object, and then I'll show everybody where to get it. Okay, so let's go ahead and look up here. Zoomers, give me a thumbs up if you can see Brian's screen right now. Are you seeing his screen? I'm hoping, because you're doing screen sharing, right, Brian?
Right, I just started sharing.
Excellent, go for it.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Aurora, and welcome everyone. I'm glad I could join you tonight. My major or normal telescope controlling computer decided to completely not cooperate. So I had to run out here with my laptop that I use for Zoom. So I am out here nice under the stars with my telescope. And you're right, Aurora, it is a different telescope this time. Tonight I'm using a Celestron 8-inch telescope. But onto the objects, this we're looking at right now is globular cluster M92. Now the M stands for Messier and is named after the comet hunter Messier. It's really funny. He was, as a comet hunter, looking for small fuzzy objects, but kept on coming across some that already existed. And so what he did is he now he had made a list of objects that could be confused for comets. And so that's now a list of things we use to actually look for. And this would be one of them here. This is called a globular cluster because these are all stars that are all gravitationally related to each other. And this is actually in the constellation Hercules. Now, one of the things I'm trying to do, we've been privileged to be able to provide these live telescope views now for a few years, and I'm running out of objects that I was familiar with, or the common ones. So what I did is I'm starting to find some that I haven't shared before. We've seen M13 in this constellation before in Hercules, and that is one of my favorites to be sure. But I wanted to show you one we hadn't seen before, and this would be it, this globular cluster M92. And so Aurora, did you want to show on Stellarium?
Yes, I wasn't sure if it was my turn. Yes, I will absolutely share this.
And I hand it back to you.
All right, the ball bounces back to Aurora. Here we go. Hi. So Brian, if you stop your screen share, I think it'll go back to me for one of the broadcasts.
Good. And then, do you think we'll want to come back to this object, or should I queue up the next one?
That's a good question.
Let's come back to it one more time, maybe after you share where it is.
Yeah, why don't I share where it is, and we'll see how people are feeling.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, but yeah, why don't you slew to the next one?
Oh, okay, I'll go to the next
one.
Yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead. So we'll chat about this one. Okay, so first things first, when we go up in the night sky, it's going to look like this, right? A lot of dots, right? A lot of dots, and depending where you are looking, right, there may or may not be things you recognize. All right, so what my job is tonight is to show you where to find stuff so you know where to look, because telescopes, they're pretty useless if you don't know where to point them. Okay, so if you were to go out tonight, do you see a familiar shape right now? Do you see a familiar shape? You see those big 7 stars? Yeah, do you remember what that's called? Okay, so this is going to be the little, hey, Brian, I think you're still on if you want to mute yourself. So this is the Big Dipper. Good. And so using this program, it's free. It's a software program. It's called Stellarium, like stellar with IUM after it, Stellarium. And I can connect things so it's easier for you to see. I can also put pictures in them so you can kind of see what people were thinking in the night sky. Okay, so we're going to use this program. Let's get rid of the ground here. Okay, so you recognize, for example, the Big Dipper, right? All right, so let's put this back in. So here's the Big Dipper, and do you see how the Big Dipper has these two stars right here? So this is the bucket of the Big Dipper, and here's the handle, and you are not seeing a mouse, are you? Let me fix it. That's okay. That's okay. Thanks for letting me know. So there we go. We seeing a mouse now? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so you're seeing here, I'll make this big and make myself go away. Okay, so you can see the 4 here. Right? So what I want you to do is you're going to connect these two tonight, and then as you connect them, you're going to make a straight line, and this will point to the North Star. And the North Star is at the handle of the Little Dipper. So you see how the Little Dipper is pouring into the Big Dipper points to the Little Dipper, the handle, right? Okay. So one of the things we're going to see in the night sky, so if I turn this off, can you still see the shapes? So here's the Big Dipper. We're going to connect these two. Now it's going to go to the Little Dipper. Here's the handle, and here's the bucket that's pouring into the Big Dipper. Yeah, okay, good. So one of the things I want you to notice is this nice big set of lines. Here, I'll show you. See this nice big Draco the Dragon? Here, you want to see what Draco looks like? There you go. Draco the Dragon? Right. Rawr. Okay, so Draco the Dragon is here, and he has a nice diamond-shaped head. Hercules is stepping on the head of the dragon. Do you see that? So we have the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper. We have the Draco the Dragon that snakes between the two and has a nice diamond head. And then Hercules is stepping on it. Okay, so the object that we were just seeing, here, if we turn on the pictures of Hercules, you can see where his feet are. They're right down here. So we're going to be looking right in this area. You tell me when you start to see something look like what Brian was showing you. See anything yet? How about that? So this is a beautiful globular cluster. Whoops, let's pause it. Beautiful globular cluster, which means it's just a big star ball. Big, dense collection of stars. And if I put the parentheses on it, let me do that really quick. So we have M92. Now, if M92 is bigger, actually, than M13, which is usually the one people look at with Hercules. That's over here. Okay, so do you see where it is here? So let's go to our star chart here, and let's find it. You ready? Okay, so this is the one. So if you have this printed out, great. If you don't worry. Okay, you can do this again as a recording. So this is the center. This is, you'll see where it says Cygnus, this one. So Hercules, it says Hercules right over here. So we are looking at M92, which is right there. Okay, so how you use this is you put the whole thing over your head. You see where it says south, so you line that up with south and north. So the whole thing, here, let me show you. The whole thing goes over your head, and you line up the north, south, east, west, and this is what's going to be projected on the night sky. And then all you have to do is find the ones that we're showing you. All right, give me a big old smile if that looks good. Yeah? So we have some kids on tonight. So yes, yes, yes. Excellent. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and continue. Excellent, excellent. So Brian, you're going to tell me when you're ready. So I have a couple of naked eye objects I can fill in until Brian is ready. Because Brian's going to show us some deeper sky objects because he's the one with the telescope. Okay? So he's going to let me know when he's ready, but let's go back and, oh, he's ready. That was fast. Okay, here we go. So Brian is going to show us our next, oh, I should have shown you where the next one is. Okay, we're going to have Brian do it first. Brian, why don't you go ahead and steal the show?
Yes, this is fun. I'm missing my handheld mouse. I'm using the pad on my tablet, so zipping between screens. Hey, we're on to another globular cluster. This one is M15, and I need to bring up my notes. So let me find my notes here. Yeah, so this is M15. Now we've moved on to the constellation Pegasus. And so this is actually known as the Great Pegasus Cluster. Now, you may notice some extra features. If you could see my mouse pointer, we have this little line going right through here. That is most likely a satellite that photobombed my picture. And so, by the way, to show you what's happening with my telescope, I am stacking images here. What that means is I'm actually using a program called SharpCap to combine individual 30-second images. And by doing that, I'm able to eliminate more noise from the image and then actually bring in the detail. And then I'm also using the program to zoom in. If I hit my little auto, you can see this is my native image that my computer is giving me. And so far, this is 7 stacked images combining the information to have 3 minutes, 30 seconds, and it's still going. But then what's nice with this program then is I can actually zoom in and then start to show you even more detail. And that's one of my favorite things about globular clusters, especially like this one, M15, M13, the Great Cluster in Hercules, is that the more you zoom in, the more detail you get. And I clicked the wrong button. Now, by the way, while I'm here, I want to mention you're going to start to see some colored squiggles, and I'm actually going to pause here. Those are what we would call an artifact, or what I would call an artifact. That's caused by the telescope that I'm using. If you think about the night sky, it's actually rotating above our head. And the telescope that I'm using, although it follows the objects that I'm taking pictures of, it is not rotating the camera as the night sky starts to rotate. So my program's doing the best it can to line up my pictures, but I'm starting to get some little squiggles in here, and that's where those are from. So, by the way, while I'm here, I do want to mention that M15 here is a neat globular in that it's the first one, or the only one that we know of as far as my notes, that actually has a planetary nebula. And nebula is a cloud of gas, and they called it planetary because it was somewhat rounded, like, and looked like a what they thought maybe a gas giant at the time. And we're actually going to be looking at a planetary nebula as our last object. Now, it is too faint for me to bring out with my current setup, but I think it is neat to know that there actually is a extra little feature within this when you start getting into more higher power telescopes. So I think that's what I wanted to share, Aurora, with this one. I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, great. Caught it this time. Perfect. Let's go ahead and take a look as to where that one is. So I'm going to put the brackets around it so it's easy to see. Okay, so this is where, here, let me make it a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so one of the things you want to find is the Great Square of Pegasus. So if I turn all these things off, do you see how there are 4 brighter than the background stars that they form a nice big square? Okay, so that's what we're looking for. And this one might be a little bit easier if we go here first. So this is directly overhead, like you would be, we call this the neck breaker region. All right, so this is directly overhead. If you look a little bit to the east, so sitting above the east, like nicely above the horizon, is going to be the Great Square of Pegasus. So that's what we're going to be looking at. And where we are looking is right here, M15. So right off of one of the legs, okay? So let's go ahead and go back to Stellarium and take a look at where that is. Okay, so here we go. You want to see what Pegasus looks like? It's only just half the horse. Okay. Oh, not the legs, the nose. I'm sorry. So it's right off of the nose. Okay. So here, let's make this go off. So you can see here we got the Great Square of Pegasus, and then we're going to have a nice little nose sitting here. And if we zoom in right on this spot, we are going to see an astrophotography image very similar to what Brian showed. Okay, so again, a globular cluster, it's a collection of stars held together by gravity, and they tend to be dense. So it's like kind of like living in New York City. And all these stars are really packed closely together. And there we go. And so we are going to see that right off the nose of Pegasus. Okay? And so a lot of people, when they see this one in the night sky, if I can turn the names off, there we go. Delphinius is right here. This is the one they'll think of as this is one of them, they'll see that and they'll say, oh, that's a Little Dipper. So it's kind of headed between the Great Square of Pegasus and Delphinius. And then you'll actually see M15. Great. Brian, do you want me to talk about a planet really quick?
This would be a great time because I'm switching filters
for
my next object. So yes, I could use a little more time.
Okay, great. And then you're going to talk about filters, what you mean by that, because I imagine people are having questions. Okay, so you can actually, so the objects that we've been mentioning so far, you really need a telescope to see them. And I see somebody on Zoom that won a telescope. Are you here? Yes, that was amazing. All right, so you need to put that telescope to work tonight, yes? So they didn't win it from us, but they had shared that they had won a telescope. Nicely done, by the way. Okay, so how about a naked eye object? Should we look at a naked eye object? Okay, so let's go back here, and I will blow it up for you. So if we take a look, not too far, do you see the Great Square of Pegasus is here? So not too far. It's going to be nice and bright. It's not going to be twinkling a whole lot. And it sits right above, let's see, do we have the directions here? Right above the directions. Okay, so if you go outside and you look southeast, so look south and then just a titch to the east and look up, you're going to see a really bright, quote, star that's going to move every single night. And if you zoom in on it, if you happen to have a pair of binoculars, you will actually see something that looks like this. Do you see these little dots? Those are the moons of, anybody know the planet? Yeah, the moons of Saturn. So if you have never looked at Saturn with a telescope, this is one of those oh wow moments. And so this is one that's up tonight. You can take a look at it. Again, you look southeast, so just a little bit to the east. And the moons are different than they are for Jupiter. So if this was Jupiter, the moons would all be in alignment, the 4 moons you can see. But with Saturn, because the rings are open like this, they're kind of all over the place. So this is something you can see with your naked eyes. If you have a pair of binoculars, now is a good time to get them out for this for tonight. And you'll be able to see the moons just with a pair of binoculars. So Brian, you tell me when you're ready. I'm just going to keep talking. So quick intermission for instruments. If you are a kid and you're interested in getting a good pair of binoculars, this is a $30 pair from Celestron. These are Celestron 7x30. 7x means you see 7 times as large. And these are 7x50s. Sorry, 7x50s. And the 50 means this is 50 millimeters across the open end where the light comes in. These are great because they're cheaper than a telescope. They're easy for kids to use because they can keep both eyes open. And it really helps kids learn the night sky. The next thing I would recommend if you're going to get binoculars, and if you're a family, is to get a moon map. So looking at the moon and all the features of the moon through a pair of binoculars is really, really fun. And being able to see where the different, for example, you'll be able to see the craters where the different astronomy missions, the Apollo missions have landed. So that's super fun as well. And it looks like Brian is ready. All right, so Brian, are you ready? Almost ready. Okay, great. All right, no, that's fine. Take your time. And the other thing that I recommend for folks is this right here. If you have not gotten a Sky Gazer's Almanac for this year, they usually are only available in like January, February. This will show you in a quick glance what is up in the night sky. So you can quickly look across at the date. It'll tell you what planets are where, what the moon is doing, what the sun is doing, and all the information. We keep this on our wall, and it's really easy for the kids to go outside and say, what's up tonight? Saturn's up. Oh, but Jupiter already set. Okay, no problem. Oh, but Venus is going to be up. And so it's a really quick look, and it shows you the whole year, which is honestly, for kids, it's way better than looking at an app or anything like that that only shows you the zoomed in piece, because they'll start to see progressions and so forth throughout the year. Okay, let's see, I highly recommend the moon. All those features become old friends. Yes, they do. So you can download free moon maps. This is just one I got, I don't remember, a long time ago from Sky and Telescope, but you can download free moon maps that I was going to have that both sides of the moon, but you're not going to be able to see both sides. And you can see I've got marks on here from things that I really enjoy looking at. So yeah, you can feel free to mark your moon map up. Other things, somebody's asking about which magazine. It depends. There's 2. Astronomy, these are really the 2 magazines. And so these are fun to give, especially someone who's got an interest in astronomy but maybe isn't really into stargazing as much or doesn't have a telescope. This is an awesome gift to give as well. If you're a grown-up and you want a pair of binoculars, my personal favorite, I actually happen to have them tonight. My personal favorite are these. And these are the Cometrons that I had mentioned. These are the 7x50s. And then these are the 10x50s, and these are UltraViews, Orion's UltraViews, my personal favorite. And Brian is still not ready. Quick story. So when my mother-in-law asked maybe 20 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, she'd asked me, what do you think your husband would like for a birthday present? I said, Orion UltraViews. And she goes, really? Binoculars? I'm like, oh, he's going to love them. So who do you think's gotten more use out of them? So that was, afterwards she was like, hey. So. Okay, Brian is ready. Let's go ahead and see what he has in store for us. All right, Brian, go ahead and steal my show. Go for it.
Roles as a NASA Solar System ambassador, but usually I report on a mission, but I really wanted to share about this one called CCAS because I just find this fascinating. So of course I can't see your hands right now, but how many of you watching on Zoom or on YouTube would like to go to Mars? So of course I can't see hands, but I'm sure many people of you are lifting up your hands. And of course, all of humanity also is very excited to go to Mars, but we have a tremendous amount of stuff to learn, not only to know how to get there and get back safely, but how to live on another planet. So right now, there is a mission, so to speak, a project going on in Houston, Texas, called the Crew Health and Performance Exploration Analog, or CHAPEA for short. This is a 1 year mission going on right now. What's happened is they actually have built a habitat, like a Mars base, in a special area at Houston, and they have now put some quote unquote astronauts into this project, and now they are being watched by doctors and actually talking with psychologists. And when they talk to psychologists, they're able to talk live. But did you know it takes about 20 minutes for light to get back and forth to Mars? And that's an average depending on where Mars and Earth are in our orbits around the sun. So while these quote unquote astronauts are inside this project, they're going about their mission. They actually have to talk as if they're over the radio. And when they talk to their mission control, they have a 20-minute delay. So if you say, "What?" because you didn't understand what they said, it'll be 20 minutes before they heard you say what, and then it'll be another 20 minutes before they can even get a response back to you. And that's the kind of communication delay they'll have to deal with when we do have astronauts actually out on Mars. So they need to understand what that'll be like. Now, not only is there a place where these people are living, and they're in here for a year. They had to say goodbye to their families. They can talk to them by video or email, but they cannot visit with them face to face. The kids can't sit on their laps because it's as if they're out on this mission. But not only do they have their living quarters and their kitchen, they actually have a sandbox. So they have a simulated Mars environment where they suit up. Just as you could see, like here, similar to this, they actually suit up and go out and do simulated projects and experiments. They need to understand, are the tools that they're developing for astronauts to use, will they work with the suits that they plan? And not only that, they're actually eating like astronauts eat. Their menu is very similar to even what astronauts on the International Space Station are eating. So I just find this fascinating that NASA and really all of the international partners are taking the concept of getting to Mars very seriously and recognizing how much we have to learn. And so this CHAPEA mission is one of those projects that they're doing.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, I was really fascinated when I heard this. By the way, not only can you go to nasa.gov/CHAPEA, and that's spelled, you can see it here, CHAPEA. If you enjoy podcasts, they actually have a podcast out of Houston. You'll love the name. It's called Houston, We Have a Podcast. And they have weekly programs on Fridays. And they had a recent interview with some of the project leaders and then actually some of the participants. Oh, one last thing to mention that I just remembered. They also had a follow-up podcast. The public relations folks in Houston had the opportunity to submit some questions to these astronauts, let's call them that. And so then they recorded some video responses and then they played those. So we were able to hear how they were going, what was it like on their first night, things of that nature. So that podcast is available also.
Awesome.
So yeah, so Aurora, I think I'll keep the share going and
Please.
we'll see together how my picture looks. Okay, I am happy with this. All right, here's our next object. We're on to the Eagle Nebula. Now, the Eagle Nebula we're moving on to a giant cloud of gas. And this is located in the constellation Serpens, so I know you'll be showing folks how to read that. Now, this is a much more subtle region. The primary gases that we see here would be hydrogen. And let me actually zoom in here a little bit so we can see here. You may start to see some very familiar structures to this. And of course, it doesn't look anything like what James Webb or Hubble can show or does show. But the Eagle Nebula, also called the Star Queen Nebula, has some areas that were dubbed the Pillars of Creation. And that was actually the title of the image that was put out by Hubble and is now part of the Hubble Heritage Project. And these then within this nebula, this is actually dust that is causing a shadow and hiding the newly formed stars that are underneath. Now, I mentioned I was loading up a filter. When light is emitted by different atoms or different types of gas, then they actually come out as different colors. And they can actually identify various elements by the spectrum or color patterns that they put out. And we can also, though, take advantage of that. Hydrogen puts out some very specific wavelengths of light in the red region. And so I've rotated in a filter that actually allows more of the reds through while blocking other colors of light. That helps me bring out more contrast in this. Now, the one catch is when you put other optical elements in line in the light path of your telescope, it can knock the focus off a little bit. So I'm actually glad that I'm out here next to the telescope. That was I was able to tweak the focus after rotating in this is filter, by the way. This is one from L Optron, and it's a hydrogen alpha oxygen 3 filter. Those two terms are the name for the specific wavelengths of light that are being allowed to pass through. Now, by the way, if you're wondering what's going on with the yellow bar at the top of my message, I've actually paused the stacking and I've angered my program. It's letting me know, hey, I can't stack anymore. But by the way, this is a combination of 13 frames at 30 seconds each. So this is about 6 minutes, 30 seconds. What I'd like to share with you, by the way, if we look at the full image, you could see this is a big nebula. And on higher power telescopes, it's actually difficult to see the entire nebulosity of it because it goes out so far. And in fact, if I zoom in here and I could blow up the red just to make it more drastic. Well, that's a little bit too much because it's washing it out. Let's try that. Over here on the right, I can tweak with the colors. In fact, I'm going to reset this, my color corrections. And over here on the right, I'm able to have it do an average of the colors based on the stars it can see and to try to color correct a little bit. When we process images that we're going to show, there's a lot more color adjustments that we can do, but I'm just trying to bring out a little bit of the red. I think that'll help. Is if we look up here, we could see there's actually red coming up all the way up through here. This is, again, a very big nebula. So that's what I wanted to share with this one. I'll pass it back to you, Aurora.
So this is a moment where I really would appreciate Kent right now.
Oh, yeah. In order to find where to get this object?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say this one is a little more of a chore to find.
Yeah, so astronomer friends that are chatting in the YouTube chat, feel free to give your best suggestions for finding this one, besides parking yourself next to Kent. So let's see if we can find it. So the Eagle Nebula is also known as M16. And you can actually look up information about it, but if you put M16, make sure you also put the word astronomy, so you get the right M16. And as he had mentioned, it was actually discovered in the 1940s. And so we've known about it for a long time, but as he had mentioned, it's a really, really big area. Okay, so I put the brackets on it here. You can see it. Now, Serpens is a hard one because it's the only constellation that's broken in half. And so if I put Ophiuchus here, you can see him, it's a person, and you can see part of the snake, Serpens, is on one side, and part of the snake is on the other. So this constellation is broken in half and interrupted by Ophiuchus in the middle. So Serpens is, or sorry, not Serpens, M16 is going to be right in this region here. So let's turn off all the pictures now. Okay, turn off all the pictures. And a lot of star charts, including the one you have, won't have this small constellation called out at all. So you're going to be looking, so here. So I think the best way to find it is to go to Sagittarius, which is the teapot. You see that teapot looking shape here? Here's the spout, here's that handle, here's the top, okay? And then you're gonna go towards the bright triangle of stars about halfway, and then you're just gonna go up about that much, and you'll be in the right region. Fortunately or unfortunately, there's a whole lot of goodies in here. So it's really easy to get lost and think you found it when you found something else. Look at all these things. Look at all these beautiful things you can find, right? Okay, so the one that Brian was showing you was this one right here. Okay, do you see all the red nebulosity? Okay, so there's a lot of active nebulae in this region, a lot of them giving off different frequencies of light. And so in here, this is what Brian was trying to show you. He's saying, oh, it's a little bit red. Because this is an image, I don't know who took this image, the one that's posted here. Kent could tell you. Because this image here has been taken over a longer period of time, it's going to show you more color, then you're not going to be able to see color with your own eyeballs. If you're new to this astronomy thing, when you look through the telescope, your eyes don't pick up color, but they can pick up a lot of resolution, or they can pick up resolution, but because your eyeballs are not cameras, you're not going to see the same things you would as if you were to take a picture of it. So it's different. Just know that it's different. But as long as you can see a fuzzy, greenish, grayish thing, and it doesn't look like a bright little point of a star, that means you found it. It's usually the easiest way. Brian, you can chime in anytime you'd like here. Okay, let me see if we have some advice here.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with what you shared, Aurora. A couple other things I was thinking is, one, you can keep in mind that when you're using finders and then also through your eyepiece, often what you'll see is that open cluster that's associated, that grouping of stars in the middle. And so that's a good thing to look for. The other thing that you'll start to have practice is you can star hop. So if you start to plan with your star charts, you can find an area, a star that's bright enough for you to see, get that into your eyepiece, and then with your eyepiece start to move and jump from star to star using the magnification of the eyepiece, and that'll help you get to it also.
Yes, exactly. And I see a lot of astronomers are also agreeing with what we're saying as well. So let's look at your star chart that you have here. Okay, so Sagittarius is going to be the teapot, which is down here. And as I mentioned, you could literally spend all night just looking at the steam that's coming out of the teapot. And by steam, I mean all of these objects. And because this is the center of the galaxy that you're looking in. And the M16 is actually in a different arm than we live in. We live in the Orion arm. This one I think is in the Sagittarius arm. So the objects we've been showing you tonight, M92, M15, these are in our galaxy, but they're in different parts of our galaxy. So M16, let me highlight it for you, is here. Okay, so here I'm going to highlight the Serpens because I told you about that one. Okay, that's the one that's cut in half by Ophiuchus in here. So it's between the tail of Serpens, and you literally you take the teapot and you follow up the haze of the Milky Way, and you will get to see all of these goodies. And M16 is the one near the top. Okay, that's right up here. So that's my best way. Kent would have 5 ways of doing this. So, all right, great. So Brian, do you want to let me know? Yes. Oh, I can point that out as well. So there's an association open cluster, and that's usually something you can find in your eyepiece. Yes, that's what you had mentioned, I think. Okay, perfect. Great. All right, we have one more object to share with you, and while Brian is working on his telescope, I thought I would ask you, is there an object that you're interested in seeing, or a constellation, or something that you are excited about? So let us know what that is. If it's an object, a constellation, just something you're curious about that you would be interested in, we want to hear from you. One of my favorites is actually up right now, and it is a naked eye object, and it is a galaxy. Now, if you live in the southern hemisphere, you are lucky because you have 2 naked eye galaxies. We only have 1 in the northern hemisphere. So my favorite galaxy is M31. It's the Andromeda Galaxy, and it's up tonight. And it's a naked eye galaxy, and Brian just said he's ready. Okay, well, hang on, Brian. Let me just point this one out really quick because it's really easy to find. So let me get the brackets on it so you can see it, and then we will zoom over to you. Okay. So do you see the W here? Here, let's turn this off. We'll even turn off the brackets. Okay. Do you see the W here, or an M? Okay. So what you do is in the night sky, do you see how this forms a larger triangle than this one? You see that? Okay, so here, let me make this bigger. Okay, so what you want to do is take the larger triangle and so ignore, this is the galaxy obviously, but you won't be able to see it that clearly just with your eyes. Okay, so you're going to take the bigger triangle, not the smaller one, but the bigger one, and point to the nearest, you're going to take it and point to this star, this nearest star. And you're going to back up. You're going to find this bright star, and then you're going to go -1, -2, and the galaxy will be right here. Okay, so you're going to find the W. It's going to point at a really bright star, okay, brighter than these two, and then back up 1, 2 hops, and you'll look there, and you'll have a galaxy. And this is the Andromeda Galaxy. This is not what you're going to see in binoculars or a telescope. Well, this is what you get from a photograph. It'll be like a fuzzy green-gray patch. And if you have really dark skies and really good eyeballs, kids, I'm talking to you, you will be able to see it with your naked eyes. You'll see something is there. You won't be able to really define it, like, there's a fuzzy patch. You found it. All right, great. Okay, so let's see. Brian is ready. This is the last object we're going to share with you tonight. Brian, do you want to steal the screen share here?
Absolutely.
Okay, go for it.
Yes. And so, all right, here we have our last object of the evening. This is the Dumbbell Nebula. And this is actually located in the constellation Vulpecula. Now, this is a planetary nebula. See, I mentioned that we were going to look at a planetary, and you can see with that more or less roundish shape, that's how it gets the name for the type of object that it is. Now, I picked this as an interesting contrast to the Eagle Nebula that we were looking at. The Eagle Nebula is a star-forming region. Meanwhile, the Dumbbell Nebula is a cloud of gas from a star at the end of its life. Right here in the middle, that little dot, that's a white dwarf star. And that is a star that puffed out its outer layers as it was running out of hydrogen to fuse. And as it did that, it kicked these outer layers of gas away, and they're still expanding. And one of the fun things with planetary nebulae is that they're all often different from each other. It's almost like a fingerprint. While we'll have different types, we do have the Dumbbell. By the way, some people do call it an apple core nebula. You can see this, it looks like somebody took a couple bites out of it. But scientists are still trying to figure out everything that causes the patterns of the expanding gas. But we can see here too that we have these shades of red, which are indicated by the hydrogen. And then we do have some darker blue regions also. This, by the way, is a view through my oxygen-3 hydrogen filter. Excuse me, let me say that again. My hydrogen alpha oxygen-3 filter. By the way, something else you might be interested to see is when we use our astronomy programs to look at these images, then we have the opportunity to bring out more detail. Aurora mentioned how our eyes cannot usually see color, right? It's because our eyes are most sensitive in black and white. And so in these really dim lights, like we see with objects where they're only a little bit of light, we don't see color very often. But with a camera, you can collect light. And that's what I'm doing here. So this was actually what my camera is seeing, so to speak, with 6 frames stacked at just 3 minutes. But then by using my program, not only do I have the combined information, but then I can actually bring out all the detail and then do some color corrections to help bring out some contrast and help us to be able to see things better, and then to zoom in. Now, oftentimes, of course, with astronomers, they're not working with pictures, they're working with data or information. But we greatly enjoy, of course, all looking at these different objects. Plus, it's a great way to communicate with others the wonders of what's out there. So just to show you again, what I had done is this feature here. This is one of the best features I have in this program. It's called a stretch. It takes the information that's been saved and it pulls it out so that all of that detail that we couldn't see before we're able to see. So that is what I wanted to share with the Dumbbell Nebula. And I think with that, I'll pass it back to you, Aurora.
September is the best time to see this one. And so here we have, let's see the program here, and let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. Let's put the ground back in, and M27. There we go. Okay, so let me get some constellations in here. Okay, so this one's really easy to find. So tonight when you go outside and, oh, you can't see my face. When you go outside and you look up, you want to look straight overhead. And you're going to see Cygnus the Swan. And it's right off of the beak of Cygnus the Swan. So let's take a look together. So do you see how, let's see, so it's a little hard in stellarium if something's overhead. There we go. Do you see how we've got a tail star here and we've got the head? Okay. The way you're going to find this tonight, let me take off all the lines because they're not going to be there tonight. Do you see how I've got 1, 2, 3, and then make a triangle? They call this the summer triangle. And so what you're going to do is find one of them, and off of one of them, you'll see a line of stars, and that's this one here. And then just off of this second star, you'll see the wings that go across. So that's how you know you've got the right one for the swan. So this star is called Deneb, which is also it means the rear end of a duck. so this one's Deneb. And what you're going to do is you're going to come up from Deneb towards Albireo here. So let's put the lines back in so you can see it. Okay. All right, so you're going to go right towards his nose, and then we're going to look right in this area here. Let's see. And I'm going to put the brackets back on it. M27 is right here. Okay, so if we zoom out and I put the picture of the swan, you see it? Okay, it's going to be right in here. So we're going to find the summer triangle, which are these 3 bright stars, 1, 2, 3. And then that's how we're going to find Cygnus the Swan. And then we're going to go away from this one. So you're going to see a little parallelogram underneath Vega here. So go away from Vega, and you will actually find your apple core, which looks like this. So this one's about, memory serves, about 1,200 light years away, 1,000 years, I think it's 1,200 light years away. And it's got an apparent magnitude such that if you look at it with a telescope doesn't have to be that big, 4 to 6 inches, and you'll be able to start to see there's a fuzzy thing there. And so somebody's asking if I have large binoculars. Yeah, large binoculars will do it too. Absolutely. Okay, good. And dark skies, of course. So good. Other questions? It's planetary nebula. Brian, do you want to chat about that?
So when they first started observing these small nebulae, then they looked like small round fuzzies, and similar to what they were seeing with Uranus and Neptune. And so the term planetary nebula then was then used to refer. We're wishing that they had a better name because it could be quite confusing. Now, I have not seen an update on this, but I did read a couple of years ago, now that we're finding so many exoplanets, which would be a planet orbiting a star other than our own, that they're wondering if planets around some of these dying stars that are orbiting them, still the planet, might actually contribute to the patterns we see in the gases of the nebula, which would actually mean that there is planets contributing to the actual patterns of the gases. But again, that's just still an idea. So the idea is that the gas is caused by actually the star kicking its outer layers of gas out and away, and they're still expanding. So it technically doesn't have anything to do with planets. It's actually a star, and that is all material that's coming off of the single star. And then usually that star then is cooled down to a white dwarf, and oftentimes you can see that in the center of the particular planet.
Exactly. And this was the first planetary nebula that was ever discovered. So they thought it was a planet, but it's not, and the name kind of stuck. It's like a bad nickname, isn't it? But astronomers like to name things before they really know what they are. So it's good. All right, so we have a number of questions that are piling in. We've gotten some by email. Brian, did you want to share anything else before I ask you questions and you can help me answer them? Okay, great. And so this one what we're going to do is we're going to find Cygnus the swan, and it's right overhead, so it's going to be in the middle of our picture. Here's the wings. Here's Deneb, D-E-N-E-B, and here is the head of Cygnus the swan, which, by the way, is beautiful. Dave Majors was the first one who showed me the two different color stars that are at the head of Cygnus the swan. One's blue and one's kind of an orange color. And then you're going to go away from the parallelogram star, which is this way. So you're going to head east just a little bit, and here's M27 right there. Okay, so M27 is right there. Here, if I use a pencil, it might be better. M27. Good. So look at all the fun things. We actually also talked about Saturn, which is here. And I also mentioned M31, which is here. So we actually did quite a bit of the night sky. Look at that. Yay. Okay, great. Okay, couple of quick questions. Somebody is wondering what the name of your telescope is.
Yes, this is made by the company Celestron, and it's called a C8. So it's 8-inch catadioptric. I need to get you a picture of this as the one that I shared when I first started with astrophotography as a refractor. And so this one then is a catadioptric, so a little different.
That's great. Okay, perfect. Somebody had asked about the Veil Nebula. I did answer that on Zoom, but just in case anybody else had the question, that's not a great one to show just because it's so big. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Brian.
I agree. It's quite faint as well, and big and faint, and so that is a supernova remnant. And it actually has multiple NGC numbers. NGC stands for New General Catalog. So it's actually been divided into a few different. So yeah, see, that's huge. That's Stellarium's image. Usually when you see a picture of the veil, you're looking at one of those segments.
Yeah, one of those or one of these. Yeah, because it's just such a huge object.
It shows you, it's a good illustration too, talking about this one, how when we use the term nebula, I believe that is the Latin word for cloud. Mm-hmm. And then there are so many kinds of nebulae, being the plural. So we first showed you a star-forming region, and then which is stars being born, and then a planetary nebula, which is a single star kicking out its outer layers, and then a supernova remnant where the star went kablooey and destroyed itself. And if it had enough mass, then we believe that what's left would collapse into a black hole. But then this again with the Veil Nebula, now all of this gas is actually expanding outward, but it's so far away and so huge we don't really see that motion.
Yeah, that's true. Somebody wanted to see, I think it was Dave was suggesting the coat hanger. I think that's NGC 6802. Is that right? Let's see. Did I get it right, Dave? Yes. That looks like it. Do you guys see the coat hanger? It's kind of upside down. But here's the bottom. Here, if I zoom out, maybe it looks more like a coat hanger. And here's the loop at the top where you hook around the rod. So that it's actually near the other one that we were looking at. Here. Okay, so if I zoom out a little bit. So here's the parallelogram with Vega. Okay, so this one's in Vulpecula right in there. It's also called... Oh, it's got a lot of... The snail? I don't know. They always come up with funny names.
Stellarium has so many names.
Very strange names.
If there was ever a possible nickname, I think Stellarium got hold of it.
Definitely. And so those of you who are asking, what about this one? What about that one? Just go to Stellarium and use it. You can use it on the internet, like in a browser, or you can just download it and you put in your zip code, and then it will show you based on your location on the planet where things are and what's up in the night sky. So I can't recommend it enough. It's free. Go to stellarium.org to get your copy of it. Okay, good. Perfect. And, people are sharing what kind of equipment they have. Yes, if you want to share your favorite binoculars or your favorite telescope, stick it in there, absolutely. My favorite binoculars are my 25 by 100s. They're massive. So it's like cartoon almost. You expect to, when you look through them, they're so huge, they look cartoony. And my favorite telescope is, I have a Meade LX200, but I prefer actually the old Skyview Pro from Orion, which is like, I don't know, a sixth the cost, an eighth the cost. And just because it's familiar. It's the one, the telescope that's right for you is the one you're actually going to use. So whatever one that is. And so if you go and get one of our downloads from the monthly Stargazing that Brian put together on our website, you will actually see telescope recommendations for adults and for kids. And so it's in one of our packets. Okay, great. Let's see, other questions. We have a couple of more can you show me's. Okay, so somebody was wondering about, okay, so Orion is a winter constellation. That one will be coming soon. So look for that.
By the way, Aurora, the coat hanger, I can only get, my telescope blows it to pieces, so I actually can only see a piece of the coat hanger.
So it's so big. That's great news. So Dave, can we see those in binoculars, you think? What do you think? So here, we'll wait for him to let us know. So it's so big you can't even get it. Okay, great. Somebody's wondering what Saturn looks like. How is your...
I think it's too low.
It's too low.
Let's see.
Easy in binoculars to find the coat hanger. Fantastic. Okay, great. And so let's see. Okay, so you definitely can look at the moon. Somebody was asking about the moon. If it's up tonight, can I look at it? It's not going to be up tonight, but when it is up, which is usually when we have clear skies, so yes, you can absolutely look at the moon. Other questions? Let me just go back through here. As I had mentioned, we're broadcasting on multiple platforms, so let me just check them all. And it looks like we have a few more questions. Let's see. He did name his telescope. Yes. You mean like a pet name? It's a Celestron. It's an 8-inch Celestron that Brian is using.
I have so many. I just haven't through them, as I move on to my next project. So I sometimes don't have them long enough to name them.
Yeah.
Maybe we could ask students sometime to. I'll post a picture, and then we can take for NASA missions. Why not telescopes?
Okay, so somebody's asking Aurora's favorite constellation. I just happen to have it here. It's this one. So this one, if I show you a picture, maybe you know what it is. Does it look like a harp? I hope it looks like a harp. So this is my favorite constellation simply because there's so many fun things. This is the one that looks like a parallelogram. So this is Lyra or Lyra, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And I love it because there's so many fun things. There's 2 stars, a double here that split into 2 more stars. Vega is here, of course. We have the ring, which is down here. So Lyra is my favorite. Saturn is like the best thing to look at for planets.
No, I have it now.
You have it. Do you guys want to see Saturn? Oh, yeah. You've seen all the kids going, yes, yes, yes. Okay, take your time. It looks like people are saying, yes, the coat hanger is amazing in binoculars. And Orion, Dave is saying it rises at 3 a.m. right now. So, look at you. You've got this already up. Let me.
So it is so bright that I'm actually having to dial down all my settings, right? Because I've been trying to get deep sky objects. So let's see here. I'm dropping down. Let's try 500 milliseconds here. That's a little bit better. So what I'm able to do is control how long it's staring basically at light to consider one image. So this is down here, yeah. So I'm thinking that's pretty good. So there we have it. The rings are very favorable right now. Now, one of the adventures with planets, especially the lower they are in the sky, is that the atmosphere right now, especially as the sun hasn't been down that long, the planet is cooling, so heat waves are coming up, and those little ripples are actually adjusting the light, so to speak. Or
you mean the Earth is cooling, that
what
planet?
Did I say?
The Earth.
Yes, the Earth. Yes, the Earth is cooling. Our planet that I happen to be on. So I've really magnified this as much as I can here. You actually start to see some of the graininess here, but there we have it. That's Saturn.
That's awesome. Yay, we got a bonus object.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you so much for sharing with all your knowledge and your telescope with us tonight. Yay! For those of you who are joining us tomorrow, we would love to see you in our stargazing event. That would be just such a treat to be able to share the night skies with you. For those of you who are a little too far away, no problem. We got you covered. One of the great things you can do with our recording tonight after you've watched it is to replay it and just have it like in your pocket so you're not watching it, but you're hearing it. And then just take your binoculars and go look as I'm describing where they are and as Brian is talking to you about what it is. So that's another way that you can use our recordings for tonight. If you really like these lessons and you're in my online science program, go to live classes and scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on last year, because we haven't gotten to astronomy yet this year. We just started the academic year. Go to last year and we did a deep dive in astronomy. So we did 7 whole weeks of astronomy and we did tons of stargazing, and those recordings are available. You can take a look at those as well. All right, Brian, we are wrapping things up for tonight. And yes, so people are already excited and talking about what we're going to be doing tomorrow. Fantastic. Yay. All right, I hope this has been fun for you. Our job, again, or my goal for you is now when you go outside and you look up, you can find some things and start to share it with others. So that's your homework. Go outside, look up, see if you can reiterate some of the stuff we've done tonight, even if it's just one object. It could just be Saturn, or maybe it was Andromeda, or if you have binoculars, you can take a look at the coat hanger or any of those other objects that we shared with you tonight. And if you don't have a telescope but you're interested, you want to find a star party in your local area. So there are astronomers everywhere on the planet. So see if you can connect with them and attend one of their public stargazing events, and they will be able to guide you through the night sky as well. So those are really, really fun to attend. And we have one tomorrow. Who's coming? I'm coming. Anybody else want to come? So I would love to see you. If you are local in the area and you'd like to join us, you are welcome. It's going to be at Santa Margarita Lake. If you have any questions about that, contact me at aurora@centralcoastastronomy.org, and I'm happy to answer questions for you. So that's aurora@centralcoastastronomy.org, and I look forward to seeing you. If you have any other questions, let me know. You can always send me an email that I just told you. Anytime, if you have a question that didn't get answered during this class, let me, or myself, or Brian, you can reach Brian at centralcoastastronomy.org, and both of us are available to help answer your questions to keep you going in the night sky. All right, everyone, yay! I will see you next time. Thank you for joining me, and get outside and go look. It is now your turn. So, all right, Brian, thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody.